and welcome to this exclusive fireside chat on the topic building a new collar ecosystem with organizational benefits and growth opportunities. Today, I have two special guests for this fireside chat, and we'll be talking about the new world organization, their focused, their priorities for blue collar workers, the rise of digital adoption, and the most effective and efficient manner. Please welcome my first guest, Mr. Saurabh Singla, Chief People Officer, Ecom Express. Welcome to the show, Saurabh.
Hi, thanks, Abid. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. My next guest is Mr. Vaibhav Sharma, Senior Director, Partnerships, Better Place. Welcome, Vaibhav.
Thank you, Abid. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much, both of you, for taking out time and joining this conversation. Saurabh, without any further ado, I'll start my first question. And very simple and basic, we all are talking about well-being, we all are talking about equity, but and equality as well. But when it comes to blue-collar workers, gig workers, we don't think the same. Just wanted to ask you, why should dignity and well-being be the two critical pillars of building a new collar ecosystem? Your thoughts?
Very, very interesting question. Thanks for asking this. I think this is something that I've been kind of talking about, and thankfully, my current organization and the last one, we thrive on the blue collar workforce. I used to be with G4S earlier, where guarding, which happens to be a large ecosystem in the country, and now with Ecom Express, where new age logistics, where the delivery associates and the sorting associates in a warehouse, they both happen to be blue collar workforce. Look, gone are the days when you would find them easily, and then you can just go and kind of say that in a new ecosystem that's developing, you can just say there is a role open and you find these people. The blue collar associates are very, very high in demand now. It is just that the right skill set or the right place, if you're not able to scout them, you would at times feel that the supply is kind of insufficient. Look, overall, India as of now boasts of almost about 450 million people in this blue collar workforce, and this demand is only going up and up. And the overall ecosystem, I was reading some numbers. Some of the numbers say that this industry of gig and blue collar can be as high as about $250 billion value creation that this sector is going to be kind of involved in. If that be the case, and at the same time, when there is enough and more growth that's happening in the industry and in the country, the blue collar workforce is no more the same as it used to be in the past, where you would find more people and less jobs. The trouble today is that the organizations are finding lesser skilled or semi-skilled blue collar workforce as compared to the needs, and this is only disrupting this whole ecosystem. So it is not that we would only thrive on a minimum wage. It is overall a fair wage concept that's also kind of coming to play very, very rampantly. Now, when you talk about dignity and well-being, why should a company or an industry think about it more? Well, to my belief, if we don't bring that at all, the players are not going to be in the game for long term. This is a very, very well-networked community now. They interact more on the social media than we do, and they can really troll an organization or a concept in hours or in minutes, but not getting threatened. I think overall, there are only four pillars that I would kind of suggest which companies should look at and very, very critically ensure that these people feel that their jobs are dignified and their well-being is a concept that is really thought through by the organization. So the first one I would say is a financial security. These people are well informed. They understand their rights. They also understand that if there is an organization where there is no guarantee of a continuity, unless it is a spike in the earning potential, the blue collar workforce or the new collar workforce, they would not stay or stick with it. That's number one. Number two, they also understand that what is the prevailing market rate. So it is not that they're not well informed. They talk to each other on social media. They talk to each other in various platforms. They may not have LinkedIn as a tool for them, but they've got enough and more WhatsApp and Facebook and Insta that these people use. The second thing is where is dignity for me is the organizations must think about creating governance programs or the processes where these people are protected as well. They should feel that they are no less than any other employee in the organization. Uh, it is very, very critical. The third is safety, and fourth is dreams. Safety for me is let's not kind of treat these people as it doesn't matter what kind of environment we give them and they will still work. Be it a loader job, be it a scanner job, be it a biker job, be it a guarding job, be it any job for that matter. One must think that overall safety and the well-being, mental safety and well-being as well, is a priority of the organization. And fourth is dreams. It's so easy to lose a resource for just $100 or $500 as well. It is something which is rampant in the industry. But if you really understand what are the dreams or what are the key core things that are required, you can change the game. I'll give you a live example. I've got about 80% of my blue collar workforce on my payroll of Ecom Express. And we are spread across every inch of the country. Yeah? With about 3,400 office locations and about 60,000 plus people, we are covering rural as much as urban. The only one tweak that we did was we understood these people say that, look, we need this salary on a agreed stipulated date, plus give us a job security for long term. When we brought about 80% of people on our payroll and they grow with us, Abid, we enjoy less than 1.5% of attrition month on month in this workforce, which is not heard of. They will respond to you if you respond to their basic needs and create a delight by understanding their dreams. They also deserve to grow the same way that anyone else grows. So that's the way we take a look at the well-being and the dignity of this work.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you for sharing all these details. And I'll come to Vaibhav. Vaibhav, since you're part of an organization which deals with blue collars and everything through technology. Would like to ask you, how has technology changed the working environment and opportunities for blue collar workers?
So, Abhi, that's a very interesting question from a perspective of technology and blue collar workforce. When we look at these frontline workforce, because the literacy rate is not as rampantly widespread as it would be in any other sectors, we will expect that these people will not be adopting technology or will not be able to use technology as efficiently as anybody else would. But with there is a saying, right? If you get disabled in one sense, your other senses kind of get empowered even more, and that's exactly the case with these guys too. They may not be able to get access to a lot of technological advancements, say in banking or financial services or medical sciences, etc. But whatever little technology they get access to, they make the most of it. In fact, at Better Place, we have a focus group internally, which comprises of about 50 such people from different segments. They are delivery executives, they are security guards, they are people who work at homes. In fact, we also have some people who are porters. They've given us some very, very valuable insight in defining our product offering or the user experience and user journeys for a certain aspect of their lives, which we are trying to impact with technology. So they do understand technology really, really well. And because life is already so hard for them, they have the best ideas to make it simpler. And like, what was just called out earlier, by Saurabh, if we just hear them and understand them, we will be able to create value for them, and then they will stick around. For example, a lot of employers are looking at offering a earned wage access to them, right? But despite that, you will also see attrition in those companies too, despite the fact that you're allowing them to access their salaries before the pay cycle actually happens. No, it's not a great value add, but if you help them and invest some sort of capital on behalf of the company to the education of their children, they will want to stick around because they do not want their own to also struggle and be blue collar. They aspire to move from a blue collar to a gray to a pink and eventually a white and uh, um, break the shackles of being a daily wage worker and dependent on that and create a better future. So yeah, I agree to everything that Saurabh said. In that sense, creating that sense of dignity and well-being for his long-term future is very important. Technology plays the role of an enabler, which allows you to reach a large quantum of people at one go rather than just at an organization level. And that's the attempt that we are endeavoring towards at Better Place, to use technology and make the entire life cycle of this blue collar worker while he is employed, something which is it's a better place for them to be in rather than the rudimentary benefits which are not reaching them.
Okay, okay. Thank you for pointing out the technology aspect. Coming back to Saurabh, we mentioned about well-being, we mentioned about dignity and equality. Through the pandemic, what we have seen, the importance, the significance of blue-collar workers. When they left for their home, there were companies that stood still for months until they came back. We need to take care of their well-being. So just wanted to ask you, we have been witnessing the mass layoffs recently. So how to improve the work safety of gig workers? What are your thoughts?
So Abid, I think the first thing that had come even before this year, which is the recent layoffs, which we've been hearing that there are companies which have been laying off their people, and they can be blue collar or white collar both. But look, I think COVID had a big impact at one point of time, and thankfully there were some industries which really scaled up and got hold of people, and they kind of moved them into newer roles, and they still kind of could absorb and continue their jobs. But yeah, a lot of people did lose their jobs then as well. And this year we've been hearing, I think we've been hearing about 600 people in one company, 1,000 in another. There is a mention of various industries which is coming up. I think overall, if you see as a concept, if it's a gig model is created in a way that it is more around having opportunities across sectors or different companies, where it is not dependence on one but dependence on multiple. That for me is more of a skill set and a management of time that an individual has in terms of finding out where do I have a bigger opportunity or a better opportunity. But from an organization standpoint, I think if we really want to build an organization for a long term, we got to stand with our people. We got to stand with our people, and small disruptions have to be absolutely absorbed by the organization and not immediate layoffs, which kind of happens at times. But all said and done, I think one piece of advice that I give to all in this blue collar and the gig workforce, overall, from an organization standpoint, you may not have enough work to give in bad times, let's say to 1,000 people, hypothetically, but you can always give lesser work to all 1,000 people and make sure they earn a minimum level threshold, which keeps their home running. That is one way of looking at it. The second thing I would say is that overall, the gig is actually moving higher and higher and higher. The overall blue collar workforce, wherever it's stable, stagnant, the impact is not high unless the industries got impacted by the overall volume or the job cuts that are there. The skill set generation and creation is one thing by the organization and the industry, which can really ring fence a lot of these people. These are fertile minds, typically the young people, anything between 18 to about a 35-40, which is what forms a majority chunk of the blue collared workforce in the country as on date. If we are able to generate more skills for them, that they're agnostic to various industries, and I think that's where institutions and organizations like Better Place come into picture. I mean, I keep talking to Praveen from Better Place, and he tells me that how they're trying to cross skill and upskill people, and not just offering them to jobs which are available. So I think as we grow this ecosystem, we need to be cognizant of the fact that if we are not genuine to people and we are only being opportunist, they will not come to us in the long term. And two, it is important for us to continue to cross skill this segment because these people are capable of doing much beyond our expectation. We may just believe a guard is a guard or a biker is a biker. You give them opportunity. These kids, these people are really sharp, and they are absolutely malleable. You can mold them into different roles as well.
They are literally valuable. There is no doubt about it. Coming back to Vaibhav, since you run the tech side of it and you know what all is happening in the industry, I would like to ask you, as a platform providers of blue collar workforce, how do you see or how Better Place seeing this new wave of gig economy entering the Indian market? How are you experiencing this new wave of gig economy?
When you look at this new wave of economy, and I would love to marry that thought to what Saurabh just mentioned for continuity of the thought process, right? The fact that today in the gig space, largely it is ecom and logistics services that are being provided. And the young generation or the younger lot, or even the older people who are in the 30 plus group who are doing these jobs are very agile in the mind. And that is where digital platforms like what Better Place is trying to build a digital skills university where we can tell them that, hey, you can learn or acquire these set of skills and grow in your job, have longevity, earn more respect, have a better improved work environment to work in. For example, today an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old who has a scooter becomes a delivery executive at Ecom Express, right? He works in a certain area and he knows the routes in and out. He can optimize delivery timelines. But if he has a formal certification in logistics, a small course of organizing logistics or working on Excel sheets, for example, right, can help him get promoted from a delivery executive to a store or an area in charge or a route in charge of that sort, where he can design those routes, which will help him improve his earning potential. Obviously, also with higher job comes greater responsibility, comes more respect and dignity for him within the system. So he wants to stick around and create a stable career for himself, which opens so many doors for him on the financial independence front. Today, largely no financial institution wants to peg any risk against the blue collar worker, largely because gig economy is evolving. Today, if he's doing gig, he may not do this job tomorrow, but giving him a certain skill set will assure him that he can get started with the gig and then find what is the skill set that he has, which he can enhance to stick around in a much more permanent job, much more evolved job, and give structure to this. So I personally feel that gig is a great opportunity for us to see it coming our way, because through this gig, like a Better Place, we are conversing with a lot of these employers who are going to gig based positions to say do an IRDA certification to be able to sell policies on insurance, get recruited on a commission based by an insurance company to sell insurances, right? We can actually look at these guys doing similar such products to become, they can cross sell and through their own network, because the same blue dart guy comes to my house irrespective of the courier, the nature of the courier or the nature of the packet. He's the same blue collar guy. He knows me. I have a relationship with that guy where, he comes to my house, he'll probably have a cup of tea or a coffee or a glass of water before he leaves. In that equity, if he pitches a product of my well-being, it adds value to him monetarily also. It benefits. So hence, yes, the gig workforce for us has been great, coming on to exploring new talent, and or older people who are in this business get an opportunity to do something in their time to meet their liquidity requirements by just doing something. For example, we are working with certain clients to create a bike taxi model, where we are saying that we will give you the bike taxi on rent, which let's assume is, the bike monthly rental is about 5,000 rupees, right? So we are saying that you drive as a bike taxi 7 to 11 a.m. in the morning and 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. in the evening. After 11 p.m. till 7 p.m., 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., that slot, why don't you deliver with someone like an Ecom Express as a gig player, or why don't you join a Swiggy or a Zomato to make deliveries? So that afternoon time where he does not have any job, the gig economy actually gives him an opportunity for his idle time to be converted into, some incremental money, which could be enough to justify, say, the rent of the scooter. And he can then utilize the 7 to 11 a.m. p.m., the two shifts money as pure income, right? So from where we've seen it pre-gig, the per hour earning potential was anywhere around 35 to 55 rupees for a blue collar worker. But with the gig coming in, immediately with that afternoon empty slot being fixed, it can jump from anywhere from 55 to an 80 rupees to 100 rupees to the hour, depending on how sincere and how productive these are. And yeah, we're looking at this gig thing to mature from, say, somebody doing this for 3 months, 6 months in a row to maybe a year, or maybe doing for a longer time. And it would probably, where I look at it, it may just translate into like how we have freelance consultants who quit their main job and then they just start consulting companies. Gig could evolve in that direction.
Thank you, Vaibhav, for highlighting the current state of the Indian market. I'll come back to Saurabh and I'll ask another important questions. We all know from organization's point of view how important is employer branding, but it is also important for the employees and the employers, the employee experience. So, how do you try and involve your blue collar workers or frontline workers in decision making when it comes to their overall experience, taking their suggestions and feedback? How do you do that?
So with I think something very, very close to our heart at Ecom Express, which is what you've asked for. So one, we all believe we're all operators at heart. That is how we work. For us, decision making happens in the corporate office or in regional offices. But apart from the analytics and data science and tech inputs and ops inputs, what we do is we actually go on ground. So almost every second day, there will be one leader on the ground who would go and take feedback. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We're taking our app through a lot of change in terms of the UI and UX and the experience that a biker has in terms of using it. And all of that came in when my region head, Sandeep Purwar from Central Region, got the CEO and the leadership team to Lucknow and got us to interact with the bikers, both full-time and gig workers. And they gave us first-hand input in terms of these are things that are good, these are things which are not good. You must change that. What I'm trying to impress upon is, if you really want the right things to happen, then your last leg on the ground, which is the person who's actually connecting with your customer, he or she is the person who will tell you what is it that needs to change. You can't base everything on only what they tell, but that becomes like the most important ingredient in any decision making. We do enough and more stuff. We do a lot of conversations in structured formats where we call people to the offices. We will go to the delivery centers and to the warehouses. So much so that during the season time and the peak times when we are trying to transition to some stage, we would be on the ground as leaders ourselves and we would talk to people. Like just yesterday, I was talking to my COO, Vishwachetan, and VC was in the field talking to the bikers, and he was visiting a pink DC. There was a simple ask that we got that instead of sending the load at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if we get it at 11, we would be able to make sure that we are completing all the deliveries by 5:30 or 6, which supports a pink DC by getting our female warriors to go back home on time, which is a safe zone. Small little input, but goes a long way. We just wrote a quick code that all across the country, the pink DCs, this should be the logic that is applied. So I think leadership's ability and intent to actually connect with the associates on ground has to be a continued process, and their representation in all the decision-making process becomes absolutely seamless and it comes from the top. So all our promoters, Krishnan, Satya, Manju, and late Sanjeev Saxena, all four of them, they're all very, very clear. All we've done always is talk to people and drive a company which is an operations company driven by people. becomes a very easy and seamless process when we decide not to sit in the air-conditioned cabins, but to actually be on ground and talk to people. And that Abid, to me is also the way I test it from my HR lens. A great place to work certification that we just bagged was at a base of 42,000 people, where 90% of them are blue collar workforce who voted for us. And trust was the factor which was voted high, where they said, we know the organization listens to us.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. I think that brings to my last question, and that is for Vaibhav. Vaibhav, you mentioned about the gig economy and the trend and how market is reacting and the other market is reacting. Can you please shed some light on how we can build a growing career for gig workers and how Better Place and how technology can help them in developing that? Over to you.
Actually, it's a very interesting question that I would love to answer, and it involves a lot of tech being built into it, right? When we have a blue collar worker who comes through us seeking a job, because at Better Place we aim to become, say, like the LinkedIn for the blue collar workforce in this particular segment where they are able to get jobs. We want to not only get them jobs, but we also want to gamify the experience of being in a job and help them with various aspects as points which attribute to their scores as an individual. Like for example, at LinkedIn, right? When you go ahead and update your profile with all the possible details, it gives you a 99% you're an all-star profile. You would want to gamify the experience in such a manner where we can gather the maximum input about the persona of this blue collar with respect to his family, his dependents, his lifestyle, his ambition, so on and so forth, and accordingly design and give to him skilling and development related courses which he can upgrade himself and move forward. Help him in meeting his financial dependency through something like an earned wage access, where if he if he takes a salary advance, he continues to work at that same establishment for 6 months or more, which gives him a better score, makes him a more reliable employee for seeking a better opportunity elsewhere through the platform or otherwise. Similarly, we are looking at providing insurances. Now, I think I remember quoting this the last time around also. At Better Place, with the technology and the aggregation play, we are looking at providing, say, a personal accident policy of 5 lakh rupees cover at a premium of just 120 rupees for the full year, which is 10 rupees a month, right? Has he taken that policy for himself? Has he extended his health and life cover to his spouse or children? And so basically, with all of these points coming into picture, you're gamifying the experience so that they can go ahead and have a richer experience through their own life. Like today, we are wanting to we're designing insurance policy around unemployment benefit. For example, God forbid an event like COVID happens again, right? We will never be enough. They will end up losing jobs, and in such a situation, can we provide them with at least 2 months or 3 months worth of salary that is last drawn, so that they can continue living and not struggle, right? So these are the kind of products that we are looking at through technology to create this ecosystem for the blue collar workforce, that it becomes a parallel in itself, and it meets the requirements for these guys. And they, like you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation about having a dignified work environment and a dignified work culture, irrespective of where they go as a particular segment, is what we are also aiming to utilize technology at. And that's the opportunity we are gunning for at Better Place.
Thank you so much, Saurabh, and thank you so much, Vaibhav, for highlighting a lot of different aspects in this conversation. I think we were so indulged, we ran out of time, and you guys nailed it with every questions, every response. I think. Thank you so much. It was lovely hosting you both. Hope to meet you soon in person. I think.
Absolutely. I will look forward, and amazing interacting along with you, Weber.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine, Saurabh. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.